Hear that rattle coming from my engine? That's an issue. And I got another issue. It's really cold right now, so it's not gonna idle. Sometimes when you put it in gear, it locks up like it's in both gears, and if you try to go, it just bogs the engine down. Now, when I bought the bike, but it doesn't do it all the time. So when I bought the bike, I started it up. I heard the little engine noise, but it drove great. I ran it down the road really fast and back, and everything was lovely. And shortly after that, this little transmission locking up thing occurred, and I can't believe it didn't happen before I purchased it. I think the guy scammed me. I think he just crossed his fingers and hoped it wouldn't happen while people were testing it, because it doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes it locks up. Now this particular four-wheeler, this is a Honda Rubican. I think it's 500 cc's. It has an automatic transmission, and the automatic transmission is really just a fancy torque converter.
Well, that's not accurate. It's a engine-driven hydraulic pump which drives a hydraulic motor which drives the back wheels.
It's a sealed unit, and it's $1,300, and this old thing's not worth it. But it also has like a manual transmission, which I didn't know this in the beginning, incorporated, and that shifts from forward to reverse and high and low. And those are gears, just like something you can look at and figure out. So I got a feeling that this locking up problem is with those gears, not with the automatic transmission, because it seems to run good up and down the road. So is it worth it? Right now, if I sold it and told the people of the problems, it's probably not worth too much. If I took it apart and tried to fix it and can't get it back together because I'm not a mechanic, it also won't be worth too much. So yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try it. I got a book. I'm gonna try to take it apart, and I can't do much with my bad foot anyway, so I'm gonna hobble around this machine for a few days. And by the way, if you notice something about my foundry, my building here, it got roomier. It's no longer a foundry. I sold all my foundry equipment. Debbie and I decided we were too old to mess with molten bronze, a 90-pound container of molten bronze, and we weren't using it that much. And the ceramic shell doesn't last long, so it seemed like every time we wanted to make a pour, the ceramic shell was bad, and I had to buy another bucket, and it like $850 for a bucket. So yeah, we sold everything. He even took my hot plate out of my shelf here, so it's not worth much. Now I'm gonna have to tear this down. Foundry on the trailer.
David just passed by and said, "Foundry on a trailer."
Anyway, I'm gonna try to video all the steps I take. The first steps, of course, I'm not gonna video because that involves taking off the seat and all the plastics. And there's 600 videos on YouTube on how to do this.
The Honda four-wheelers, probably all the four-wheelers, the bodies are all plastic. And at least on the Hondas, they're put together with these little plastic rivets. And they're kind of lightweight, but they work. And you can get a whole bag of them for not much money. So we just cut the old ones off and throw them away, and we put new ones in every time.
Plastic things, which are awesome. But now I have to take off this metal thing to get this plastic off. And I think I tried before, and I think these bolts are going to break, but I got to get it off.
So this is 100% not a how-to video. This is just some clips of me fumbling around with this little four-wheeler, trying to learn something, trying to maybe fix it.
Okay, that one came off. Okay, I don't know what I was thinking. These both come off easy. Plastic should here. There we go. My first little problem here. The other side was 100% plastic riveted into place. This side's got 2 screws that are supported by this metal rack, and they are so corroded that they won't come off. I think I'm gonna try to get in here with the grinder and cut those heads off. Even though they're welded to the frame, I think there'll be less damage doing that than trying to grind the heads off here of that plastic. I think I'll just melt on plastic. So yeah, I'm gonna try to get in here with the grinder and just cut the whole welded nut and everything off, and I'll just put a new nut on there. It doesn't have to be a welded nut because I can get to both sides with the tools. So cutting those bolts was nasty, but it worked okay, and now I have all the plastic off both sides. I haven't even opened the book yet because I know all this stuff has to come off, and I've done it before. Now I have to take the gas tank off, which means I have to take the shifter off, which is not that hard. There's 2 screws. You can take this off, and then there's 3 10 millimeter screws. So this contraption could drop out the way. That allows you to pull the plastic back enough to get the 2 screws up in the front of the gas tank to undo it. In the back, there's 2 little nifty straps. There's no screws. And then I can take this air box plenum thing off. And then I think I'll open the book and see what I'm doing wrong. So if we flip this rubber flap over, you can see where the 2 gas tank bolts are supposed to be. I only have 1, so I'll take that one out. And the gas tank is free to come out, although you do got to wiggle it a lot, I think, if I remember correctly. It was a tight squeeze with all this plastic stuff. Plastic cover plate, which was also attached with 2 of those plastic rivets, has to come out. And concentrate. There we go. Okay, so now that's the engine. So the book says I need to drain the oil, which I know how to do. It's kind of a pain because you got to remove the skid pans underneath. This is drain the antifreeze, which I don't know how to do. I'm gonna have to go to chapter 3. And it says to remove the exhaust, which should be pretty straightforward, a mechanical exhaust. So I'm gonna jack it up a little bit so it won't be so uncomfortable getting under it and getting over it, and prop it up a little higher than it is now. So these are the bolts for the pan. They're 12s, and there's one in the back right there, and you get to all of them from the side. And since I had them off about a month ago, they should be easy peasy. I don't know how good this is gonna come out. Now this engine holds 5.5 quarts of oil, and that's because the automatic transmission and the engine share oil. And it drains in 3 places. It drains here, here, and here. I think I'm fixing to make a mess. This is how to drain the radiator. And I don't know how to get anything under there. Maybe a yogurt cup or something. And I don't know if that drains the engine. The book really doesn't say much. But I'll at least drain the radiator so that if I do, I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna have to take the hose off of the engine somewhere, so I guess I need to drain this. Okay, next order of business, according to the book, is to remove the exhaust. And I see a bunch of clamps here. I don't think they're Honda clamps. I got a feeling the exhaust is gonna fall off. But I will get this bolt and this bolt off. See what happens. I think this is a joint. I think I need to get this loose, be able to get this exhaust. I think this is a joint. I need to get that loose so I can get the exhaust out. That was tough. Figure I had a slip joint, but I couldn't get it apart. Ended up putting a lot of heat on it, and ended up taking the wheel off, which makes a huge difference. But I had to get these heat shields off, and the clamps are all rusty. There's 2 of these. Anyway, yeah, I just spent like 45 minutes trying to get the exhaust off, but it is off. And it's very, very hot. So the book says I need to remove the carburetor, which is kind of intimidating. but I think I've seen other videos. It's mounted in rubber. It doesn't have bolts to it. I think I've seen other videos where people just kind of undid everything and just flopped it to the side and did not remove all the connections. So I'm going to loosen all these hose clamps and see if I can make that happen for me. So with the little air filter box out and the clamps loose and the carburetor came right off, it's no problem. But I can't get it out because this rubber thing, this clamp is stuck. I might have to cut it with the grinder to get it off, or I don't know, maybe with the channel locks. But anyway, that's what I'm working on now, is to loosen this clamp so I can get this rubber connector off, so I can get the carburetor and put it over there. Well, I got it. This is like a special hose. It's keyed into the carburetor and it's keyed into the block. I had to put the channel, I was able to get the vice grips on the head and turn it a little bit, and then it worked with a screwdriver. So, next on the list, I don't know. I am trying to unplug these 3 plugs. They got safety latches on them, and they're all stiff and they're so hard to get off, and I'm scared I'm gonna break them. The book doesn't tell you to, but you almost have to take off the back wheels. This side to get the muffler out, and this side to even see what those little clips are. Okay, gotta get them off. Okay, the start of day 3. I've only been working 2 or 3 hours a day, and I think I'm ready to undo the drive shafts and the motor mounts, and then it's time to get the motor out. I don't know if I can try to get the motor out by myself, but I can certainly undo the motor mounts and have it sitting on a jack or something. So let's see about these drive shafts. Supposedly, you take off the boot of the back drive shaft, and you take off the boot of the front drive shaft, which will shove forward, and then when you pull the engine off forward, the back drive shaft just falls out. Sounds good, doesn't it? Well, look how smart these Toyota people are. I mean, look how smart these Honda people are. Since the motor has to go forward to get out, the forward motor mount bolts on. The backward one is welded. So yeah, they planned for this. Let's see what we can do. So I loosened the boot and got it off just like the instructions say. That screw was very rusty, that was challenging. And I got 2 of the 3 bolts from the front differential out.
Little after the fact clarification. The only way to get the drive shafts off is to unbolt the front end, the differential, the mechanical part, and slide it forward to make room to get these shafts to get out.
And now it's kind of swinging. So they're telling me to just push it forward until one of these shafts falls out. These are spline joints. I don't know where it separates, but pushing it forward is easier than it sounds because there's a lot of mass, a lot of resistance. Oh, I see, look. You see where that thing moved a little bit? So I pushed it a little bit. I just need to push it some more. Oh, it's working. It's working. Look how much it slid. So I'm sure, I guess the front axle's sliding like it's supposed to. Well, it went a little ways. I got to go back up front and pry on the front differential. This has been a battle, but it's moving. I did it. I got the front drive shaft completely free. I feel like I could have made a video just on that. That was awesome. But yeah, I got the 3 bolts out the front differential, none of which were easy to get to, except maybe one of them. And now, if I remove all the motor mounts, the motor can slide forward, and this U-joint or CV joint or whatever it is can drop free. And then I just need to pick the motor up, put it on the ground. Upper engine hanger bracket out. Piece of cheese compared to the last few things I've done. Okay. Well, you know you're getting old when your face recognition software on your phone doesn't recognize you anymore, and you got to type in the password every single time. Okay, anyway, I got the engine supported with a little screw jack, just hand pressure, because I'm fixing to take out the lower motor support on this side and the other side, and it will be 100% free if I did everything right.
I've always bought old junk. I build with old stuff, I buy old stuff, I fix it up. Most of the time, I come out well. This bike, not so much. I was just in a hurry that day, and I had looked at a bunch of bikes, and everyone had something wrong with it, and I had my trailer, and I was running late, and I didn't want to be late from my wife, and I was an hour and 15 minutes from the house, and it was kind of impulse buy. It was a poor decision. But anyway, I got it, and about now I'm realizing I'm never going to get this thing back together, but I'm still working on it. It apparently has lived some of its life in a salt environment because some of the fasteners are really, really corroded, more than you would think they should have been for a bike this age, which I don't really know how old it is. All the motor mounts are off. The engine is free to move around the country, except I've got to push it forward to undo this spline shaft going to the rear differential. I got a board under here, and I don't think it can fall. I think I can just wiggle it with a pry bar. We'll see. So the little engine and transmission is pretty heavy. It's a little over 100 pounds. It's very, very awkward. It is pushed in there so tightly. And to get it out, you got to rotate it a little bit, push it a little bit, rotate it a little more. And it's pretty hard to do when you're holding something that heavy. So I was only trying to scoot it forward to get the back drive shaft off. And that was hard enough. But there's no way in the world I could have got this motor out by myself. Ended up, David came and helped me get it. And like most of the projects, when he walks in, we forget about the camera. So no footage, but it's just a battle. You have to rotate the engine, push the bottom away from me, pull the top toward me, and then it'll come out. But it's tight, man, really, really tight. Yesterday, Dave came and helped me wiggle the motor out of the frame. And of course, when Dave comes, I forget all about videoing, but just as well, it wouldn't have been what you would call an instructional video. We got it crooked, we got it stuck, we got it straight, we got it stuck, we got it stuck again. It was ugly. Eventually I had to take the foot peg off, which the book doesn't say anything about, but we got it out. Also what came out was the U-joint that goes in there with a spring. I'm not really looking forward to getting this thing. We can get the motor back in the frame, but hooking up that front U-joint, I don't know. Anyway, it's out. I'm going to bring it by the back door. I'm going to tape some openings up, and I'm going to try to clean it as well as I can, so that when I start taking it apart, I don't want to get dirt on the inside. So I got the holes taped up. I know I'm going to take this apart right away anyway, but I really don't want any extra water getting in there. Now there's another hole somewhere over here, maybe on the bottom. I might have to tape it when I turn it over. Well, there it is. It's on the table in all its glory. My main goal is to try to fix the problem with it locking in gear and finding the noise. I think the noise is a chain. There is a timing chain and an oil pump chain in here somewhere. So I'm kind of hoping one of those is the culprit. They probably both need changing because this motor has a lot of hours on it. All right, I have removed 3 hoses, one from here to here, one from here that went and attached to something I've already pulled off, and one from here, right here to here, this one, and from here to here. So those hoses are out the way. I've removed the 4 14 millimeter cap screws. They were really, really tight, and I removed 7 10 millimeter screws, so the cylinder head should come off. Just gotta whack it a little bit, see what happens. All right, came off without issue. The little rocker arms feel good. I don't feel any play in them whatsoever. That one push rod opens both valves at the same time. Now I'm supposed to remove the push rods and mark them, exhaust and intake, and put them back in the same place when I put the motor back together. Just remove the water pump, easy peasy, 3 bolts. Do it the bottom one at the top. It feels good. It feels like a rubber impeller in there. It feels good. I'm not going to take it apart. I don't think that's where my noise is coming from. So I have removed the cam followers. They feel absolutely perfect to me. I'll mark the exhaust so it can go back in the right spot.
All right, 4 little cap screws and the cylinder head came right off. I tapped it once with a pipe and it came loose. And everything looks good to me. The cam looks like it's brand new. The chain has a little bit of slack in it. I don't know what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. And the piston is not tight in the hole. There is a gap, I can see it. I'm gonna have to read and see what's acceptable and what's not acceptable, but so far, so good. Okay, I wanna remove the camshaft. To do that, I have to get the tension off the chain. And this is the chain tensioner. Well, it's in there. So I'm gonna turn it all the way. I can feel the spring. Yeah, I can't go anymore. But then I need to hold the screwdriver. So I'm gonna put my vice grips on there. Let's too loose. Yeah, look how loose now. Put the chain off. Wow, that was easy. And it's hanging by this piece of wire so it can't fall down in there. And I've already loosened these bolts. What? You still looking at me? Okay, so the chain came off easy. I've loosened these bolts already. Take them out. Well, they're being stubborn. Yeah. The teeth look really good on this thing. I'm not sure how to measure them. Okay, absolutely no bearing noise. Cams look good. So my knocking problem is not here, it's somewhere else. I'm going to take the whole tensioning device out. Took the bottom bolt off before I did this, and I loosened the top bolt. And now it's coming out. Seems to be pretty easy. It's unspringing itself, that's okay. You see it poking out? That's awesome. Okay, well this seems to work fine. Go put it up. I'm trying to lay all my parts down in the order in which I took them off. To help me when I go back to put it back together. Okay, I think it wasn't hitting me hard enough. Just got a stuck gasket on there. A little screwdriver. Let's see. Alright. Boy, the piston walls look amazing. The piston doesn't look too shabby. Not much play anywhere. Like this, like no play. Okay, I'm gonna shove a rag down in there because I don't want anything to drop into there because I might not have to take that apart. Okay, I got the snap ring off of this side of the piston pin, so the piston pin should push out this ways. I need to not lose this. I need to hit it with something. It's so slippery I can't grab it. There you go. Alright. So, I think I got a problem. Yeah, it's loose in here. Which means I need a new rod. Which means I gotta take the whole thing apart.
After thinking about this for a while, I decided that the noise was something I could live with. I would switch to a heavier oil. I use this thing maybe 3 hours a month. It probably lasts my lifetime like it was, and it ran good and strong. But the problem with the rod is you have to change the rod and the crankshaft because there's no unbolting the rod from the crankshaft. The pin, let's see, the crankshaft pin that holds the rod is pushed together. The crankshaft is in two pieces, and it has to take special equipment to push it together. So if I wanted to fix this little rattle, I would have to split the crankcase in half, get a new crank and a new rod, and that's another $500 more or less. So yeah, my plan after I looked at this for a little while was I'm not going to worry about this. I just want to get the shifter to work, and we'll just run some heavier oil and cross our fingers. So the book says to remove the alternator cover. I got all the bolts out. There it went. Well, the magnet on the alternator is pulling against me. I know that much from reading in the book. Oh, geez. Getting into it now, baby. Hope I can get this thing back together one day. So this is the alternator. I know that much. This is the starter gear, and they are free to fall out. And actually, yeah, it's kind of, this one's not free, but this one's free to fall out. So I got to be careful about that. So, and I have 4 different length bolts, and I have some with sealing washers that I'm supposed to replace. So let me set this out of the way and keep all the bolts straight. So my next step is to remove this cover. I got 11 bolts out. Luckily there's only 2 different lengths. It's pretty self-explanatory. I'm supposed to take this out first, but it won't come. So I don't want to break it. So I'm going to see if I can't take this off with it in there. Here it comes. It's holding it. There it comes. There it is. And here is the transmission. This is the manual part of the transmission, not the automatic part of the transmission that I think there's something wrong with. So let's take a look. See if I can figure it out. Okay, guys. I believe there's absolutely nothing wrong with this transmission. I took a guess and I was wrong. There's not a single metal shaving in the bottom. The oil's clean. Every single part is perfect. So, what could be locking it up? Well, I'm thinking between this transmission and the automatic transmission, there's a centrifugal clutch. And that clutch could be like losing pieces of the shoes or something like that. I probably should have addressed it first. So I'm gonna put this stuff to the side and we'll try to figure out, the book's gonna tell me how to get to the centrifugal clutch. I don't know if it's from this side or from the other side, but yeah, we're gonna start on that. So apparently the clutch is under this case, which is good. I don't have to take the crankcase apart. Gotta take the oil tank off first. Let's see what happens. So the oil tank is off. This is the O-ring, goes in this hole. And this is just a flat surface with a special gasket down there at the bottom of the engine with 5 quarts of oil in here. That's probably something I need to replace. No doubt about that. Set it to the side. I'm gonna clean all this stuff before I put it back together. But right now I'm gonna set it to the side, open the book, and see what I need to do next. Well, here we go. You get them on? I think I got them all. It's acting like there's a screw in there. So if you'd cleaned the motor before you take it apart like you're supposed to do, you would have found that last bolt that I didn't take out. So we're gonna get it out. I hope I didn't scratch the surfaces when I put the little screwdrivers in there, but I didn't push on them very hard. But I did push on them. Started coming and then it stopped. So I'm looking back about 3 months from when I recorded this video, and I'm trying to remember exactly what gave me a hard time here, and I think it's the drive shaft. The one end of it goes to the front axles and one end of it goes to the back axles. It goes all the way through this structure, and it had enough corrosion or gunk build up on it that it didn't really want to slide, and I didn't quite understand what was going on, so I probably did some manhandling that I didn't need to do if I would have just cleaned that shaft off. But I got it out and I didn't hurt anything. I guess that's the main part. While I'm waiting on a gear puller to take the clutch off, which seems to be in perfect condition, unfortunately, I was hoping that was my problem. I'm gonna start washing some parts, and it's gonna be problematic. It would have been ideal if I'd have done all this before I took it apart, but I didn't. So now I'm gonna get dirt in the inside, which was fairly clean, and in the bearings, but I'm just gonna have to take care to flush those out with, I got 4 gallons of diesel. I got some engine cleaner, but I think this is basically hot soap and water project here. This is just dirt, a little bit of grease, maybe the dirt, maybe the hot soap and water won't get. We're gonna start. We got a lot of stuff to clean. All right, well, I've been away for this a week or more, away from this for a week, and the clutch doesn't feel bad, but nothing else is wrong. So I'm gonna take the clutch off, and I got a feeling it's the automatic transmission, which is a bad issue. But to get the clutch off, you gotta unstake that nut. You see where they bent it in? You gotta unbend that, and I don't have a socket to fit it, so I'm hoping I can loosen it with a chisel and a hammer. So this is the story of my Honda 500. It was locking up. I thought it was the manual transmission. It wasn't. And I said, well, maybe it's the clutch. Maybe one of the shoes are loose. It's not the clutch. The clutch is perfect. That means something's wrong with the automatic transmission, which is a $1,300 item. So I wasn't I wanted to keep going, kind of. So I bought a special puller to pull the clutch. Ordered it, 50 bucks online. It was the wrong one. My wife says, go buy a new side-by-side and quit messing with all this old stuff. She said that before. I'm a slow learner. So I went and bought not a new one, but a late model little side-by-side, and it runs great. And it drives us around. So I just got tired of messing with this thing. I said, man, life's too short. So I sold it. Well, I think I sold it. I got it on next door marketplace. No, where is it? On Facebook Marketplace. And I got 1 million calls. Somebody's supposed to be here this afternoon.
All the parts are laid out pretty well. I cleaned my shop, put the wheels back on the yellow monster so it will roll. And yeah, so bought a lot of old stuff in my life. I usually come out well, but I didn't come out too well on this one. I lost a bucket of money, but it's not gonna break us. We're still gonna eat, so I just won't tell my bride how much I lost. That's the main thing.
So in spite of being a mess in my head, I did manage to lay all the parts out in the order in which I took them off with the right fasteners, and I probably would have had a fair amount of luck putting it back together. So the guy came to buy it, and he's buying it with a friend, and he says the friend knows everything there is to know about four-wheelers, and he just grabbed all this junk and was dumping it in boxes. All the fasteners, all the different parts, it all just went in a big old huge box. And I was saying, man, you ought to kind of keep this stuff together. Oh, that's no problem. My buddy can fix anything. So he drove off. He paid not, he's going to get his money back if he just sells it for parts. But I didn't want to mess with that. So he's got it. I don't. Life goes on.
So thanks for watching.